1,500 years ago, this was one of the largest cities on the face of the earth. It had towering pyramids, a grand avenue over 2 kilometers long, and more than 100,000 people living within its walls. It was a marvel of engineering. A city laid out like a machine, raised entirely by human hands, without metal tools, without the wheel, without a single beast of burden. And here is the strangest part of all. We do not know who built it. We don't know what they called themselves. We don't know what language they spoke. We don't even know the city's real name. The people who raised this metropolis left no name and no history. Only their pyramids, their painted walls, and a river of liquid mercury hidden deep beneath the temple. This is Teotihuacan. And over the next half hour, we're going to uncover how it was built, what its engineers achieved, and why one of the greatest cities of the ancient world vanished, leaving a riddle we still cannot solve. Chapter 1. The City of the Gods. Our story does not begin with the people who built Teotihuacan. It begins, strangely, with the people who found it, centuries after it was already dead. When the Aztecs rose to power in the Valley of Mexico, sometime after the year 1300, they came across the ruins of an enormous, abandoned city about 30 miles northeast of where Mexico City stands today. And what they found left them awestruck. Before them stretched a vast, dead metropolis. A dead straight avenue ran for kilometers through its heart. On either side rose platforms, temples, and 2 colossal pyramids that dwarfed anything the Aztecs themselves had ever built. Grass grew over the plazas. The painted walls had faded. Whoever had lived here was long, long gone. The Aztecs could not imagine that mere humans had built such a place. So they decided it must have been the work of the gods. They named it Teotihuacan, a word usually translated as the place where the gods were created, or the place where men become gods. They named the great avenue the Avenue of the Dead, believing the mounds along it were the tombs of giants or kings. And they named the 2 giant pyramids after the sun and the moon. But here is the crucial thing to understand. Every famous name we use for this city today, Teotihuacan, the Avenue of the Dead, the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, every one of them was given by the Aztecs. And the Aztecs did not build this city. They merely discovered its ruins, more than 500 years after it had already collapsed. It would be like a modern traveler stumbling upon the ruins of ancient Rome with no history books, no records, nothing, and simply making up names for what they saw. Because that is our situation with Teotihuacan. At its height, somewhere between roughly the 1st and the 6th century of our era, this was a true megacity. Estimates of its peak population range from around 100,000 to well over 125,000 people, which, at that moment in history, made it one of the largest cities anywhere on the planet, rivaling the great cities of the ancient Old World. It was a center of power, of religion, of trade and craftsmanship, drawing people and goods from across Mesoamerica. Its influence radiated for hundreds of miles. Later civilizations, including the Maya and eventually the Aztecs themselves, would look back on it with something close to reverence. And yet, for all its size and power and glory, this city kept its deepest secret perfectly, because the one thing it never told us, the one thing we would give almost anything to know, is who exactly built it. Chapter 2. The Builders with No Name. Think about how much we know about other ancient civilizations. We know the names of Egypt's pharaohs and can read their hieroglyphs. We know Rome's emperors, its laws, its poets. We can read the clay tablets of Mesopotamia. Again and again, the great ancient peoples left us their voices, in writing, telling us who they were. Teotihuacan did not. The builders of this city left no readable historical records. They did use symbols and glyphs. You can find them painted on walls and carved on stone, but there is no surviving body of writing that we can fully read as a language, no king lists, no chronicles, nothing that tells us their story in their own words. And so the most basic questions remain unanswered. We do not know what ethnic group built Teotihuacan. Scholars have argued for decades. Some once thought it was the work of the Toltecs, but we now know the Toltec civilization came centuries later, long after Teotihuacan had already fallen. Others have suggested the Totonacs, or peoples pushed into the valley after a volcanic eruption devastated nearby regions, or some combination of groups. What the evidence increasingly suggests is that Teotihuacan was something remarkable for its time. A great multi-ethnic city. As it grew, it seems to have drawn in people from all over Mesoamerica. Archaeologists have found distinct neighborhoods within the city where the artifacts, pottery, and burial styles match those of far-off cultures. A Zapotec quarter, enclaves connected to the Gulf Coast, and links reaching all the way to the Maya world. It was, in a sense, a cosmopolitan capital, a melting pot of peoples, more than 1,000 years before the modern age. But that only deepens the mystery. Who founded it? Who ruled it? Who designed its pyramids and drew up its master plan? And here is another strange feature that sets Teotihuacan apart. In most ancient civilizations, the ruler is everywhere. Pharaohs plastered their faces and names across their monuments. Roman emperors minted their own portraits. But at Teotihuacan we have never found the tomb of a king, nor grand portraits of an all-powerful individual ruler dominating the art. There are gods and priests and warriors and ritual, but no obvious, glorified god-king shouting his name from every wall. This has led some archaeologists to a genuinely radical idea, that Teotihuacan may have been governed not by a single supreme monarch, but by some form of collective or shared rule, several powerful families or councils holding power together. If that's true, it would make Teotihuacan one of the most unusual political experiments in the ancient world. But we simply don't know for certain. So we are left with a staggering paradox. Here is a city that housed over 100,000 people, that engineered pyramids among the largest on Earth, that planned its streets on a precise grid and shaped the beliefs of an entire region for centuries. And it is, in the most human sense, faceless. A civilization of ghosts. Brilliant, powerful, and utterly anonymous. To understand them, then, we can't read their words. We can only read their engineering. And their engineering has an incredible story to tell, starting with the question that draws us in every time. How, exactly, did they build a mountain by hand? Chapter 3. Raising a mountain by hand. At the northern end of the Great Avenue stands the structure that defines Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, and to stand before it is to feel very, very small. It rises to a height of around 65 meters, comparable to a 20-story building, with a base measuring roughly 225 meters on each side. In sheer volume, it is one of the largest pyramids ever built anywhere in the world, containing very roughly 1 million cubic meters of material. Its total weight is estimated in the millions of tons. And now the question that matters most. How do you build something this colossal 1,500 years ago, when you have no metal tools, no iron or steel, no wheels, no pulleys, and no large animals to haul the loads? The answer is a masterclass in low-technology engineering, brilliant, patient, and almost unimaginably labor-intensive. Start with what's inside. The Pyramid of the Sun is not a solid block of cut stone, like the pyramids of Egypt. Instead, its enormous core is made largely of rubble, packed earth, and adobe sun-dried mud brick. Workers gathered and carried this material to the site, quite literally basket by basket, load after load, and packed it down layer upon layer, tamping it into a massive, stable artificial mountain. Millions of individual basket loads, hauled and pressed into place by human muscle alone. But a mound of packed earth would erode in the rains. So the builders gave the pyramid a durable skin. They faced the entire structure in stone, much of it Tizontal, a light, porous, reddish volcanic rock found in the region. Being light and relatively easy to cut, Tizontal was ideal. Workers could shape it and carry it up the growing pyramid without the impossible weights that Egyptian granite demanded. Over the stone facing, they applied a thick coat of lime plaster, smoothing the whole surface. and then they painted it. Because here is something most people never picture. In its prime, the Pyramid of the Sun was not the bare, gray-brown ruin we see today. It was plastered smooth and painted in vivid color, much of it a deep, striking red. Imagine it, a gleaming blood-red mountain, its painted surface blazing under the high-altitude sun, visible across the entire valley. The whole city, in fact, was a riot of color murals of jaguars, birds, and gods covered walls throughout Teotihuacan in brilliant reds, greens, and golds. Then there is the shape itself. Teotihuacan's pyramids and platforms are built in a distinctive architectural style called tablero. It works like this. A sloping wall, the talud, rises up, and is then topped by a flat rectangular framed panel, the tablero, which projects outward. Then another talud, another tablero stacked again and again, giving the buildings their characteristic stepped, layered profile. And this wasn't only about appearance. The talud tablero design distributed the weight of the structure and gave these massive buildings stability, while the flat panels provided broad surfaces for sculpture and painting. It became the architectural signature of Teotihuacan. So influential that you can find imitations of the style at sites hundreds of kilometers away, carried out across Mesoamerica by the city's enormous cultural reach. So picture the reality of building this. Thousands upon thousands of laborers. Ramps of earth rising alongside the growing pyramid. Endless lines of people carrying baskets of rubble and adobe up the slopes. Masons cutting and setting volcanic stone. Plasterers and painters finishing the surface. All coordinated, fed, housed, and organized over years, perhaps generations, with nothing but human hands, stone tools, rope, and baskets. It is a monument not just to belief but to organization on an epic scale. And astonishingly, the Pyramid of the Sun holds one more secret in its foundations. A secret hidden directly beneath it, in the dark. We'll come to that. But first, we need to step back and look at the city as a whole, because the individual pyramids are impressive, but the true genius of Teotihuacan is the plan. Chapter 4. A city built like a machine. Most ancient cities grew the way most cities always have, organically, chaotically, street by street, over centuries with no overall plan. Teotihuacan was different. Teotihuacan was designed. Look at it from above, and the first thing that strikes you is the order. The entire city was laid out on a deliberate grid, with its great central axis, the Avenue of the Dead running dead straight for over 2 kilometers through the heart of the metropolis, lined by platforms and temples, and anchored by the Great Pyramids. Streets and building complexes were aligned to that axis across the whole urban area, an area covering some 20 square kilometers at its height. And that central axis was not random. The entire city is deliberately oriented about 15.5 degrees east of true north. This precise tilt appears to have been chosen to align the city with the movements of the sun and stars on key dates, and with the surrounding sacred mountains and landscape. In other words, the builders didn't just plan a city, they aligned an entire metropolis with the heavens. To lay out a grid of that size, over that distance, to a consistent orientation, using only sight lines, cords, and simple instruments, is a genuine feat of surveying and civil engineering. Now consider where all those people lived. More than 100,000 residents needed housing, and Teotihuacan solved this with something remarkably modern. Across the city, archaeologists have identified the remains of some 2,000 apartment compounds. Large, single-story, walled complexes, each one home to multiple families, arranged around shared central courtyards and open to the sky for light and air. Inside, walls were often plastered and painted with elaborate murals. This was, in effect, high-density planned urban housing apartment blocks, built 1,500 years ago. It is one of the earliest examples of this kind of organized, multi-family urban living anywhere in the ancient world. And it allowed the city to pack in an enormous population in an orderly way. And a city of that size needs to be fed and watered and kept clean. The people of Teotihuacan managed water carefully, channeling and controlling the flow through the city. They engineered drainage. They organized the mass production of goods, most famously obsidian, the razor-sharp volcanic glass that Teotihuacan worked and traded on an industrial scale, sending blades and tools across Mesoamerica. There were workshops, marketplaces, and distinct districts, all humming within that ordered grid. So when we call Teotihuacan a city built like a machine, we mean it. It was zoned. It was aligned. It was planned as a single integrated whole: sacred core, Grand Avenue, residential districts, workshops, and water systems, all knitted together on a cosmic grid. This was not a village that grew lucky. This was urban design conceived by minds that understood geometry, astronomy, logistics, and the management of a vast human population. And at the spiritual heart of that ordered city stood a third great monument, smaller than the Pyramid of the Sun but, in many ways, far more mysterious. A temple dedicated to a feathered serpent. And beneath it, sealed in darkness for 18 centuries, lay perhaps the most astonishing discovery Teotihuacan has ever given up. Chapter 5. The Serpent and the Tunnel. Between the Great Pyramids, within a walled precinct, stands the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, dedicated to the deity later cultures would call Quetzalcoatl. It is smaller than the Pyramid of the Sun, but its surface was once covered in row upon row of sculpture, great carved stone serpent heads, snarling out from the facade, undulating bodies of feathered snakes, and other symbols, all originally painted in vivid color. It is one of the most spectacular pieces of monumental art in the ancient Americas. But the temple hides a darker story. When archaeologists excavated its foundations, they found the remains of around 200 people. Many of them apparently warriors, their hands bound behind their backs, buried within and around the structure as it was built. They had been sacrificed in enormous numbers as a dedicatory offering to consecrate the temple at its creation. It is a chilling glimpse into the beliefs that drove this city, a world in which such a monument demanded the ultimate price. And yet the sacrifices were not the temple's greatest secret. That secret waited beneath it, in the dark, for over 1,800 years, until the rain revealed it. In 2003, a heavy rainstorm swept through the ruins, and the ground near the foot of the Temple of the Feathered Serpent gave way. A sinkhole opened, and when archaeologist Sergio Gomez peered down into it, he saw something no one had seen in nearly 2 millennia. A perfectly cut, man-made shaft, dropping straight down into the earth. It was the entrance to a tunnel, one that had been deliberately sealed shut by the people of Teotihuacan around 1,800 years ago, and then hidden and forgotten. The excavation that followed took years, and it used remote-controlled robots to venture where humans could not safely go. What they found was extraordinary. The tunnel ran for around 100 meters, descending some 18 meters beneath the temple, and it had been packed with tens of thousands of ritual objects, offerings of jade, of shells carried from distant seas, of carved figurines, rubber balls, and the remains of exotic animals. An astonishing treasury of the sacred, sealed away in the dark on purpose. But 2 details stand out above all the rest. The first, the walls and ceiling of parts of the tunnel had been carefully coated with a powdered mineral, pyrite and related metals, that in the flickering light of a torch, would have glittered and shimmered like a field of stars. The builders had turned the inside of the earth into an artificial night sky, an underworld cosmos beneath the temple. And the second detail is the one that made headlines around the world. Deep inside, the team discovered pools of liquid mercury. Liquid mercury, shimmering, silvery, and highly toxic, is extraordinarily difficult and dangerous to produce, and its presence here in significant quantity is almost unheard of in ancient Mexico. The researchers believe it may have been used to represent water, a mirror-like underground river or lake, a mythic body of water at the very heart of the underworld, echoing the sacred geography of Mesoamerican belief. Why go to such lengths? Because Gomez and others suspect that this tunnel, This glittering starlit passage with its river of mercury may lead to something we have never found at Teotihuacan, the tomb of one of its rulers. If a king or high priest of this faceless city was ever laid to rest in splendor, this may be where. At the end of the tunnel lie chambers still being carefully studied, and the possibility remains that somewhere down there, in the dark beneath the Feathered Serpent, lies the answer to our greatest question, the identity of one of the people who ruled this lost world. Chapter 6. The Pyramids and the Cave. Let us return now to the two giants that dominate the city, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, because their placement was no accident either. These builders did not just raise monuments, they anchored them to the sacred landscape and the sky. Take the Pyramid of the Moon, which sits at the northern end of the Avenue of the Dead, closing off the Great Axis. Stand before it and you notice something uncanny. Its shape seems to echo the outline of the mountain that rises directly behind it, a peak called Cerro Gordo. The pyramid appears to have been deliberately designed as a kind of artificial mirror of the sacred mountain, a man-made echo of the natural world. And within it, as archaeologists have tunneled inside, they found chamber after chamber of dedicatory burials, sacrificed humans and animals, jade and obsidian offerings, laid down as the pyramid was enlarged over the generations. But the greatest revelation lies beneath the Pyramid of the Sun. In the early 1970s, archaeologists discovered something remarkable directly under the very center of the pyramid. A natural cave, a lava tube, extending deep into the ground, ending in a chamber shaped almost like a four-petaled flower or clover. And this changes everything about why the pyramid stands where it does. In Mesoamerican belief, caves were profoundly sacred. They were seen as entrances to the underworld, and often as places of origin, the very wombs from which humanity and the gods were thought to have emerged. It now seems that the Pyramid of the Sun was deliberately built on top of this cave, that the whole colossal mountain of earth and stone was raised precisely to mark and magnify a sacred doorway into the world below. The builders didn't choose a random spot. They found a place they believed was holy, a portal to creation itself, and they crowned it with one of the largest pyramids on earth. And then there is the sky. Everything about Teotihuacan's design points upward. That deliberate 15.5-degree tilt of the entire city aligns it with the rising and setting of the sun on specific, meaningful days of the year, and with certain stars. Across the site, archaeologists have found strange carved markers, pecked crosses cut into the floors and stones, which appear to have been used for astronomical alignment and for laying out the city's grid with precision. Put it all together, and a breathtaking picture emerges. Teotihuacan was not merely a city that happened to have temples in it. The entire metropolis was, in effect, a model of the cosmos, a sacred machine aligning earth and sky, mountain and cave, sun and moon, the world above and the world below. Its pyramids were mountains. Its tunnels were the underworld. Its avenue was an axis of the universe. The people who built it were not only engineers of stone and earth, they were engineers of meaning, encoding their entire understanding of the cosmos into the very layout of their streets. It is one of the most complete expressions of a worldview ever built by human beings, which makes what happened next all the more haunting, because this glorious cosmic city, this place where men became gods, was about to be destroyed. And the evidence suggests it was destroyed by its own people. Chapter 7. The Fall. For centuries, Teotihuacan thrived. Its population swelled. Its influence spread across Mesoamerica. Its workshops hummed. Its pyramids blazed red under the sun. And then, sometime around the 6th century of our era, it all came apart. The archaeological evidence for the fall is dramatic and disturbing. Around the middle of the 6th century, the ceremonial heart of the city, the temples and elite buildings along the Avenue of the Dead, was deliberately and systematically set ablaze. This was no accidental fire, and no simple sacking by an outside enemy. The destruction was targeted. It focused overwhelmingly on the monuments and palaces associated with the ruling class and the state religion. Statues were smashed. Sacred images were destroyed. The symbols of power were singled out and burned. And that pattern tells a powerful story, because when the fury is aimed so precisely at the elite, at the temples, the palaces, the icons of authority, while the ordinary residential districts are affected far less, it starts to look less like a foreign invasion and more like something from within. Many archaeologists now believe that Teotihuacan may have been brought down, at least in part, by an internal uprising, a revolt of the people against their own rulers, a turning point where the faceless masses of the city rose up and tore down the symbols of the power that had commanded them for so long. But why would a great and stable city suddenly turn on itself? Here, a second thread of evidence comes in. Studies of human remains from the final generations before the collapse show rising signs of hardship, increasing malnutrition and nutritional stress among parts of the population. And there is evidence pointing to a period of severe drought and climate stress in the region during those centuries. A great city depends utterly on a reliable food supply. If the rains failed, if the harvest shrank, if hunger spread through the crowded apartment compounds while the elite still demanded tribute and sacrifice, then the conditions for rage and revolt would have been ripe. So the most likely picture is not a single cause but a convergence. Environmental stress and drought squeezing the food supply, growing inequality and suffering among the population, and finally a violent internal collapse in which the people turned on the ruling class and burned the sacred core of their own city. Whatever the precise mix of causes, the outcome is clear. After the Great Burning, Teotihuacan never recovered. Its power was broken. Over the following 2 centuries, the population dwindled and dispersed, its people drifting away to other towns and cultures, until by around the 8th century the once mighty metropolis stood largely empty, a vast, silent ruin. And so the city was left to the grass and the wind. The paint faded from the pyramids. The murals crumbled. The great avenue fell silent. And there it waited, until centuries later, the Aztecs would stumble upon its bones, gaze up in wonder, and decide that only gods could have built such a place. Chapter 8. The Riddle That Remains. So let us gather what we truly know about Teotihuacan. We know it was one of the largest cities on Earth in its time, home to well over 100,000 people. We know it was meticulously planned on a cosmic grid, aligned to the heavens. We know its people raised pyramids among the greatest ever built, using only earth, stone, plaster, and human muscle. No metal, no wheel, no beasts of burden. We know they lived in planned apartment complexes, worshipped a feathered serpent, sacrificed hundreds to consecrate their temples, and buried a glittering, mercury-filled underworld beneath their holiest shrine. And we know that, after centuries of glory, their city was burned, most likely by their own hands, and abandoned. And after all of that, the questions that matter most remain unanswered. We still do not know who they were. We do not know what they called themselves or their city or their gods. We do not know what language they spoke. We do not know for certain how they were governed or whether a single king ever ruled here at all. And we cannot yet say with certainty exactly why this magnificent city tore itself apart. Some of those answers may still be waiting in the ground. The tunnel beneath the temple of the Feathered Serpent has not given up all its secrets, and if a ruler of Teotihuacan truly lies entombed at its end, then one day, that faceless civilization might finally show us a face. But perhaps the most powerful thing about Teotihuacan is what it represents. Here was a civilization brilliant enough to plan a metropolis, to model the cosmos in stone, to organize 100,000 lives. And it has slipped almost entirely out of history's grasp, leaving only its architecture to speak for it. It is proof of just how much the human past can achieve, and how completely that achievement can still be lost. The Aztecs called it the place where the gods were created. They were wrong about the gods. It was built by people, nameless, voiceless, but astonishingly gifted people, whose ambition and skill still tower over us 15 centuries later. And when you stand at the foot of the Pyramid of the Sun today and look up, you are looking at their signature. It is the only message they left us. And we are still, to this day, trying to read it. If this journey into the lost city of Teotihuacan amazed you, take a moment to like this video. It genuinely helps more people discover these forgotten stories. Tell me in the comments who you think built it and why it fell. And subscribe to the Ancient Hour, because every week we uncover another secret the ancient world left behind. There are so many still out there, and we have only just begun to dig.